Hi there. Welcome to Nicole's Creative Adventures. This is a podcast about all kinds of fiber arts, from the spectrum of knitting to quilting and sewing and all kind of in between when I get the urge to do those crafts. It's about making for me. I'm a doer, I'm an achiever, and creating things in my own hands makes me feel really content, happy, and also productive. My number one strength, I think, is an achiever. Yeah. So I tend to, well, activator and achiever. If you familiar with the strength finders, I'm an activator first, but right below that is achiever. So I activate myself to be creative, and then I accomplish things by hand, and those things really bring peace to my soul. So, anyways, my name is Nicole. If this is your first time visiting, I live in California. I'm about an hour away from San Francisco, not too far, but Northern California. It's been hot lately weather-wise. I know there's been quite a few podcasts that I watched that have, like, specifically in the United Kingdom, and they're talking about a heat um, stroke that they're kind of having, or a heat streak is more the word, like getting heat stroke from it. And that's, for them, it's not very common, so they're having to deal with that. For me, we get a lot of heat during the summer, and there's also been a lot of theme from watching podcasts recently about people being ready for autumn. Autumn is technically my favorite out of all the seasons, and I am very excited about autumn because this is going to be an autumn that I've never spent um, ever, an autumn of no other for me. I'm going on sabbatical this fall. It actually starts at the kind of the end of summer. So I'm not ready for summer to end because there's a lot to do. Um, like the last week of August, I'm on sabbatical. So, and I'll be going to Hawaii. So I kind of still want summer to kind of exist a little bit because of that tropical excursion that I'm having. But at the same time, I have a lot to do. And what once was a year away, planning for my sabbatical is now ridiculously close. There's a lot to do at work to make sure that I can leave my teams and my staff so that I'm gone for almost 3 months, or basically 3 months. At the same time, there's a lot to do at home to prepare for me to go on my trip. So I'll get a little bit more at the end of this podcast. I'll get into some blather about my sabbatical and kind of where I'm at on plans. I've talked a lot about it a little bit in the past, but it started to come to fruition, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm starting to kind of plan out what I'm going to do knitting wise or crafty wise while I'm on sabbatical. So, for those of you that have returned, welcome back. I appreciate it. I originally started out as a every other week, possibly every 3 weeks podcast, and now I have moved to every other month, possibly every 6 week podcast. There's just a lot going on. And podcasting, as you probably have heard if you watch other ones, does take time, literally a full day to prep, do the video, and then if you include all the editing time, it's a full work day, easy. So to fit that in, it could be difficult. It's not that I don't like it. It's just, I did push this one off specifically because I was like going to town on one of my finished objects, and it's a big one. And I just was like, I was specifically just knitting on that sucker. I didn't touch anything else. So I didn't want to podcast without a single finished object. So I pushed this off a week or so. We had our Independence Day last week, 4th of July. So that kind of messed up an extra week because we had a big party and there was a lot going on. So let's move on. So first thing I want to start with is we had a knit along going on in my Nicole's Creative Adventures podcast group, and it's completed. It actually finished on June 15th. It's almost a month late, but nonetheless, I closed the thread. And so for those of you that participated, it was from May 15th to June 15th. It was the Spring Free the Needles Cal. It was a spring kind of cal into summer. Were any work in progress that you had on your needles as of May 15th, I always want to say February, it was May 15th, was eligible to be put into this cal. So there was a bunch of you that finished counselors. A couple of you had finished multiple projects, and place it in there, and that's great because it gives you more chances to win. So I want to go ahead and pull the prizes for that. So we have 2 prizes. The first prize is 2 skeins, because they're 50-gram skeins, of Sausalito Crystal Palace yarns. 80% merino, 20% nylon, machine washable. So 2 skeins of this sucker. It's really pretty. It's also really soft. So it's 80-20, so you can knit socks out of this because it's a fingering weight. They're 198 yards per 50-gram skein. Yeah. But it's so soft, and it's got this beautiful variegation going on in it that I would suggest maybe even part of a shawl. So I don't know, it's just really pretty. But socks would work fine too. They'd be really cozy and really pretty. So I thought these were really pretty colors. Is the light picking it up? This gold color, it's almost like a citron green, and you're not totally seeing it, but to me they look like really good just summer colors. So this is the first prize. So random number generator. Let's see what you got for me. All right. Now there were quite a few so funny. I got so excited about the FOs that were in this group, that instead of me just letting it being an FO thread where you just post your FO, I was starting to comment and asking questions, and therefore people were responding. So what I ended up doing is going in order from actual finished objects, threads, or posts, and then I put those in order. So there were a total of 8 finished objects in the thread, and I put it in order as posted. So I was like, what? Wait, that's way too many or posts. Oh wait, half of them are mine because I was commenting. Yeah, it should have been the chatter thread, but yeah, such is life. There's other ways to do it, I know. But okay, so ready? Out of 8, generate. Number 5. Number 5 is somebody who put 3 finished FOs in this contest. The yarn goes on, and I believe that she knit 3 pairs of socks and this really cool looking scarf that had like all these different intricate designs and directional prints. Okay, so she did 4. This is not 4. This is 4. But she won on post number 5. She did some socks. So the yarn goes on. You know who you are. Go ahead and private message me in Ravelry with your full name and address that I can mail these 2 skeins out to you. Okay, next. I like that. The yarn goes on. It's a good name. Okay, the next prize is a Sweet Georgia yarn, and this was actually a limited edition color. It is December 2016 Sock Club Silver Lining. Yeah, I need coffee. I say that like every podcast. Maybe I need coffee all the time. And this is the Cash Luxe Spark. It's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% spark, not stellina, and it's 420 yards, 115 grams. So this is the colorway, and you can see the sparkle picking up. And normally with stellina you can't see that, but the spark is it's kind of an intense, pretty sparkle yarn. And it's very soft, obviously, because it has the superwash merino and the cashmere. So it's got these really pretty purples, and even kind of gets into this like mauvey color here. Really pretty blues to deep blues to light blues, and this, I would say, kind of a gray white. So to me it kind of looks like the ocean, but at the same time it could be very wintry. Anyways, it's really soft. It's really soft for being such a high sparkle. Sometimes with those sparkle yarns, you can kind of pick up a little bit on the, I don't know what it is, the stellina or the glitter. It's very soft. So, beautiful yarn. Let's do it again. Now, if you had let's say, for example, the yarn goes on, she won the first prize. She's no longer eligible for the second prize, but she won a prize. Yay! So for the rest of the group of the people who submitted projects, you're now eligible. Okay. Same number. Change it. I hit exit. Oh, that's awesome. By the way, the last time I did it, yarn goes on, she won again, but she doesn't get the second prize. You're really good. Number 7. Oh wait, that's you. Just kidding. Gosh, you've won a lot of times. Okay. Number 1, Elle McCall. She knit the Hedra socks by Cookie A. So LMECOLL, who was the first person to finish an object and put it in the post, you have won the Sweet Georgia yarn. So please message me in Ravelry, private message your address and contact information, well, your name and address so that I can mail you your project, your yarn. I'm so excited. 2 winners. Yay! So I have a small group of, I'm kind of like, I'm not really popular with my podcasting. This is not my full-time job or career. I'm grateful for the people who watch it and the friendships I've made. I've made quite a few friendships in this podcast, and some of which are pretty amazing. Megan, you know who you are. And where we talk all the time. So if you do participate in my in my knitting cows, or if I start doing quilting cows, which I want to do as well, there's not a lot of participants like you would in a really popular podcast. So there are some pros and cons because you are more eligible to win prizes from this podcast. So just throwing that out there. For those of you, I think over the past year, I've had at least 1 or 2 people who have won twice because they're consistent. They always play along and have fun, and they're winning free stuff. And who doesn't love free stuff? So let's move on. I am blathering. Blathering. All right. So first things first, let me turn my iPad back on so I know where I'm at. I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you're still watching, in order to kind of follow, the show notes are always found on NicolesCreativeAdventures.blogspot.com. There'll be a link to it in the down bar. You can follow me on Ravelry as Baker Vieira. And I also have the Ravelry group that I mentioned that goes along with this podcast, and where all my knit-alongs or quilt-alongs belong. It is Nicole's Creative Adventures podcast group. And I haven't been lately. I've just been kind of quiet lately in general, but most of the time I post all of my creative fun stuff on Instagram, and that's also Baker Vieira. Okay, let's move along. Let's do some finished objects because, whew, not just 1, but 2 are done. 1 that I thought I'd never get finished, and 1 that I worked my butt off for and couldn't wait for it to be finished just because it is quite a bit of knitting, and I was missing knitting on everything else. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is my Starting Point Mystery Wrap by Joji Locatelli. This was a mystery knit along. My second mystery knit, that's not 2, my second mystery knit along that I've ever participated in. And the first one I was in was Helen Stewart's Curious Handmade Snowfell Shawl. I can't remember which one it was called, but that was stunning, and I'm very happy with that. But this one was freaking huge. I'm telling you, this wrap by Joji is humongo. It's basically, I knit a sweater and maybe a sweater and a half with that much yarn, but it's stunning. It's beautiful. I have nothing like it, and it's going to be, well, I've already started wearing it a little bit. It's really hot, so, but I really like it, and so I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of this sucker. So, this mystery knit along, I finished it 2 weeks behind. There were 5 total clues, and clue 1 and 2, I was done in advance, waiting for the next clue. Clue 3, I was a day behind, and clue 4, I was almost a week behind. Just a busy week, work week. It seemed like I think I didn't even knit for 5 days that week, so I was really behind. And then by clue 5, which is the final one, I was at that point I was probably a good week and a half behind. So I finished this 2 weeks or so, a little too over 2 weeks after the mystery knit along final clue was released, which I'm pretty proud of because no, I would think that normally I'd be at least a month behind. So, but I only knit on this. I literally was a monogamous knitter and left everything aside because it's just fun to be part of a knit along. Plus, I was so interested to know what it would look like because you just don't know. Every clue is a little bit of a surprise. So, this knit along required you pick out 5 skeins of yarn, and I'm proud to say that 4 out of 5, making a mess over here, 4 out of 5 were from my stash. Really? I've never been able to do that before. Now, granted, this is a 5 skein project, but I've never been able to pull majority of a project from my stash, aside from socks, but that's cheating. You know what I mean? Multiple skein of yarn. So I was really excited. I only had to pick up 1 skein, and it ended up meaning I really wanted to get I had some neutral base creams in my stash, but none of which really fit well. Not enough popped for the rest of the skeins that I chose. But let me show you. Now this thing is huge. Big. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like the yarns. At first I was like, this is gonna be a disaster. I don't know. I just like these colors together. I think it's gonna be pretty. I have no clue what the design looks like. I love it. I love it. Okay, so this is one end. You'll see it's pretty. It's even bigger. Let me back up a little bit. Okay. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And it goes to here. That's the middle. Then it goes to here. And then it goes to here. So it's big, yo. It's quite large. Now, here's what I like to do with it. There was 1 week. It's really difficult to get this centered when you're looking at it opposites. There was 1 week where the weather was a little chillier just in the mornings. And I mean chilly, it wasn't that chilly. But anyways, I would wear it around the house like this. And if you see it, you can't tell, but it's below my knees. So I just kind of wear it around. It does a great job of covering my back. I could actually pull it down even further on my back. It's kind of hiked up around my neck right now, but it's really comfortable. Then I sat outside one night. It was just it was in like the mid 60s, Fahrenheit, of course. And when I sit down, I can cover my legs, most of my legs. And my shoulders are covered. So I'm thinking this is going to be a fantastic just wear out in the evenings, or even when it's cold and it's wintertime and I'm in the house and we're sitting on the couch, I can always throw a quilt on me, but I can also just wear this because it really does a great job of covering my arms with still giving my elbows below movement so I can knit. So anyways, it's big, it's comfortable, but it's very pretty. So let me tell you what I used. What yarn did you use, Nicole? I used some pretty amazing yarn. I was so excited because not only did I get to use yarn from my stash, but I used some yarns that were really special to me. And to think that they kind of all went in here is really cool. So the first thing was the yarn that I ended up purchasing to add to the collection of 4 that I already put together was this really soft, cloudy. This yarn is so bouncy. It is what I use for the white that you see here, and it was color number 1 in the pattern. And so I used the Manos de Uruguay Allegra in natural, and I have 40 grams left of this sucker. I weigh all my yarns after I'm done just to see. Color 2 is probably my favorite yarn in the whole thing. This is that really pretty color here. It's a single ply, and I did mix singles and regular, a single ply single ply twist. I guess it's just a single ply. There's no just one thing of yarn. All I have left is this. I don't know why I'm smelling it. I just love this yarn. This is the Homespun House Jeunesse Fingering, and I've had this for a while. This is from the Jane Austen Theme Club from April 2016. So I've had this for over a year, and the colorway was If I Loved You Less. And I have 6 grams left of this baby. So I just think it's so pretty. It was considered my variegated, so color 2 in the pattern. They asked for us, not a variegated, but kind of a speckled yarn, and I went with a muted speckle, but I just love it. It's so pretty. And as a lot of you that have knit with a single ply yarn before, fingering, you know how pretty the stitch definition is in a shawl. Love that. Color 3 was also another single. This was part of the, this is Madeline Tosh BFL Light in the Hepburn colorway. And this is part, I think it was last fall, I joined the Madeline Tosh Yarn Club. And you got 2 skeins of yarn each, every 2 months. I think it wasn't every month, but I think it's every other month. And one of the months was the BFL Light. And the colorway that my group chose, which was Hepburn. You get to vote on your colorway. So it's this really pretty color. It's coming a little more blue than it is. It's really pretty kind of green color. And it's got a halo because it's a BFL, so Blue Faced Leicester. And I actually got 2 skeins of this, right? So I used one for this shawl, and then I have one that I haven't even touched yet. But I have 56 grams left of this. So I have like a skein and a half left of this yarn, and I just think it's really beautiful. It's a really pretty tonal. What color is this? It's a yellow green, but it's so soft and pretty. It's really pretty. So I love that. And that really got showcased in this shawl. There were some garter sections of it, but really what it's known for is this twisted stitch pattern right here that happens a few times in this, and you can see it. I'm not really pushing my fingers here. See it here, and again up at the top. So that was color number 3. Number 4 was one of my first ever skeins of Hue Loco, and it was in her Phyllis colorway, Phyllis base. I don't even know if she carries that base anymore. But the color was called Over Coffee, so it's this pretty brown. And all I have left of this is 8 grams, so this color got used quite a bit. And you obviously see it here. It's this really toasty brown, but it is also tonal. You can kind of see it here. It's not solid, it's tonal, and I love that it's tonal. It kind of gives it an antique look. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But it gets used for a lot of larger garter sections, but then also towards the ends of the shawl. There's some great eyelets that pop up through it. And the last color is color number 5, and it's my, I really do enjoy this yarn dyer. It's Cosmic Strings yarn in her sock base, and the color is Marrakesh. And I have 34 grams left, which is great because I think I'm going to use this in something else again. And it's this colorway. And it does have an occasional brown, dark brown pop. You'll see some in here. Oh, over here. But just some really pretty roses to I don't know, I can't even explain it. Pinks to mauves. It's just really pretty. So, and that's what you're seeing right here. And most of the lace sections that you see, there is some garter rib here. So like, for example, there's some garter here. But see how pretty that is? It also is kind of a speckle. But then anytime there is a lace pattern, it's also in there. And I was okay. I knew that she only said, like, she didn't say you could only have one kind of speckled and highly variegated color. But I kind of wanted to throw in two, and I'm okay with that because I think it looks pretty. It adds dimension. So that is what I used for my starting point shawl. I'm very happy with it. It's very soft. I soaked it. I didn't over block it. Or actually, I didn't really block it hard. One is because I don't have a space long enough. My table, which I usually block most of my things, my kitchen table, isn't long enough because this sucker is longer than 6 feet. I think it's more like, I don't know, 12 feet long. I don't know how long it is. It's just long. So I kind of hung it on my table and let the edges fall off. I really didn't block it. I lightly blocked it. I didn't want it bigger than it is too. Like right now, like if it was a lot bigger, I'd probably be having a hard time managing it on my arms, and then I think it'd also be way too long. So I'm okay. I'm happy with it, with what I did. The lace still is prominent. You can see it. I like it. I hope you like it too. Okay, that's that. I'm gonna take this off because it is getting a little warm. And it's time for finished object number 2. And I finished the sweater. Yes, I did. I finished my Princess Fiona sweater. Yes. So, this is the Princess Fiona sweater by Amy Miller. And I did the size 42, and that has to do with the bust because you want it to have some ease in the bust. So I went to the 42 side. I think it fits me perfectly. It's super comfortable. It just kind of just hits me great. I'd wear it right now, but it's kind of warm. So I'll show it to you, pictures of it, too. I'll probably post up some more. And in the fall, excuse me, I'll wear it. That's rude. Don't yawn on your podcast, Nicole. The yarn I used, I was so excited to get to use this yarn because I had purchased this yarn while I was on kind of vacation at my friend's cabin up in Groveland, California, which is up in the woods. It's just beautiful. It's one of my happy places. And it was our anniversary. And so Chris and I were staying up there. And then I saw this Instagram. There's internet up there. It's very shoddy internet, but you can get a little bit. And I just kind of looked at Instagram and I saw this post come up from Sunrise Fiber Co. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like a pre-order for a special fall colorway, a limited edition fall colorway, which she might bring back. I hope she does. It's really pretty color. And so I don't know what it was, but I was like, it was and she was carrying in her sport weight. And I said, you know what? I need sweaters worth of that color. I would love to wear that color all over my body. I'm not going to knit a pantsuit, but I'm going to knit a sweater out of that. So I believe I ordered 5 skeins. Did I order 5 skeins? Yeah, I think I ordered 5 skeins. So, I finished the sweater and I love it. So, here's what it looks like. The colorway was Windfall, but here's the sweater. It has a really cute, just short, single rib neck. And this is just, by the way, just a little poofy part of the yarn that kind of stuck through. It's a little dark on the back, but you can't see it. So anyways, I did alternate skeins, so that in case one was darker than the other and that kind of thing. So long sleeve with a single rib cuff. The bottom also has a really thin, about the same size with 1x1 rib as the neck. And then there's this really pretty lace pattern. Let's see if I can pull it out. That goes out from a triangle shape from the side panel out. They're not really panels, you knit this in the round. So I'm trying my best to kind of show you. From the armpit out is this really pretty panel. So you're seeing the armpit is up here and it comes out. So one side has this really pretty pattern. And it's a lace pattern. It's very easy. I did have one mistake, and I specifically put that mistake on my Instagram photo to show that I'm not perfect and that I'm okay with it. But I love this. And I love that this colorway has some interesting pops of other colors. So you can't see me pull up a skein. But here's what I have left from the last two skeins that I was using. I believe, let me pull this up real quick because I don't trust myself. I don't want to lie. Yeah. So I used 3.75 skeins of yarn and I purchased 5. So I have a whole skein left, and you can see that. See this? Pretty browns in there, and then there's an occasional blue splatter or purpley blue, but this is what I have left. It's not. So I have 1 1/4 skein, but see, like here, there's these like dark purples that hit some blues. It's really cool. So this would look great with jeans. I just really like it. So it turned out it's really soft. So when I was knitting it, it was still soft, but it felt a little stiff, but not much, you know. You just soak the sucker for 20 minutes and just like tap it to lukewarm water, and I used Soak Celebration, and this sucker was just, it's so soft. It's really warm too. So I did try it on at my 4th of July party because I had some fellow knitters over, and they were like, can you just try it on because we want to see it on you? I'm like, okay. So it's so pretty. I'm just so happy with how it turned out. So second sweater ever for me. Actually, first pullover. I've knit a cardigan. Yay! So I'd recommend that pattern. I went with, did I go with Gauge? That they recommended the needle sizes. Yeah, I think I did. So I'm really happy with it. Pretty easy knit. Like I could see myself knitting another one of those, except for I have so many patterns that I want to knit. Maybe someday I'll knit another one because it's a really easy wear. Just pop it on. It sits really nice on the neck. It's not a boat cut, but it's kind of an in between. And I just think it's really pretty and flattering. So sorry, my hair is just being weird today. Besides me being weird. So those are my 2 finished objects. I'm just gonna kind of quickly work through my FOs. I have not touched this. So when I finished Joji's wrap, I said I need to pick up a sweater. I need to pick up one of the 2 sweaters that I have, and both of them needed me to pick up a sleeve. Well, I had 1 sleeve left to do on this one, and then also pick up around the collar and finish that. Then I was done. So I obviously started on this first because I had less to knit. This is my Magnolia cardigan by Joji Locatelli. I think I like Joji designs. And I have to pick up 2 sleeves on this sucker, and I haven't touched it. So I'm just showing you as a reminder. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's got a cute little garter ridges on the top of the shoulders along the top band of the back. So I have to pick up 2 sleeves. This is a fingering weight cardigan. This is the Western Sky Knits Magnolia sock base 80-10-10, so it's very soft. Knitting on this yarn is amazing. An MCN base is probably my favorite base to knit on ever. It's just so smooth and it just rolls across your needles. It's just so comforting and soft. Now, I haven't touched this one, but I told myself I'm going to knit a sweater that is of worsted weight or bigger. Then I will pick up these sleeves, because I just went from knitting a fingering weight wrap that was about the size of a sweater or more of knitting. Then I just finished a sport weight sweater, which is just a little bit bigger, not much. I need a little bit of a break from knitting a sweater's worth of yarn on like a lightweight yarn, like a fingering. So I'll pick this up again, but until then, it sits in my chicken boots bag, which I love, that I picked up at Stitches West this last February. So, and it's got, you can see through it, so you can see my needles and you can see the project. So it's just sitting there. I will get to you later, my love. I will finish you. But I hate knitting sleeves. Oh, one thing I wanted to say was, I figured out how to get through my sleeve woes. I hate sleeves. Or at least I have on the past cardigan I worked on. And I didn't care for it much with the first sleeve I worked on. So I figured it out. DPNs. I love DPNs, but not on a sweater. No, because at that point, especially if you're picking up. Now, maybe if you're knitting in pieces, it's another thing. But with these sweaters, I was picking up. There's no seams for the most part. So you have to pick up along the armhole, and then you knit it with the rest of the body of the sweater as weight. And so I didn't care for the DPN. So what I decided to do was I picked up and knit with a 16-inch circular needle. I have an interchangeable set of Knitter's Pride Dreams, which are a wood base, but you can also, what's great about Knitter's Pride is you can switch it out for the carbon. I have a few carbons. I have a few of their standard kind of like metal needles. So I also bought their specialty set, which is also the chunky set too, but the specialty set is the smaller needle shank, so that allows you to get a true 16-inch without the cord getting all quirky. For example, I had needles fly earlier when Jack, my cat, got up, and maybe Jack will make an appearance. So this is the size, and I've shown this before in the past, but I'll show you the difference in the shank. So this is the same size. These are US 7s. This is the specialty size that I use for 16. This, and the tips are at the same point, is your standard needle size. And this obviously has the cable attached, but still way shorter, which allows you to take this little needle, excusez-moi. So when you knit, I don't have the other one on, but when you knit, you're not like, you literally have a good flow, a good circle. And you're not feeling the cord really pull at you as you would if you try to put on the standard shanks for this. So nonetheless, I used the 16-inch circular to pick up around the sleeve, and it was a perfect size, had decent amount of stitches on that. And then as I started to decrease, it started to get smaller and smaller. And at one point you go, oh, crap. Now my stitches are smaller than the circumference of the 16-inch. What do you do? What do you do? Well, that's when most people pick up DPNs. Sometimes they'll pick them up right at the sleeve. Some people will do the 16-inch to that. You know what I did? And I know this won't work for everybody because they're not fans of 9-inch circulars, but I use 9-inch circular needles. I purchased, and this isn't the exact one, I already put them away, I'm trying to be more organized, but 9-inch circulars come in all needle sizes. So I purchased 7s, US 7s, and US 5s because that's what I needed for the cuff. You go down 2 sizes. I picked I purchased US 7 9-inch circulars, and when it got too small, when the stitches got too tight around my 16-inch, I just changed to the 9-inch, and then I had a bunch of stitches on my 9-inch, but it's okay because you can have more stitches on a smaller circular needle. And then it started to get to the point. So I used the 9-inch all the way to the end of the cuff. I never had to go back to DPNs, which is great because I feel like with DPNs, ladders are just so much easier to achieve, whether we want them or not. And then with the sleeve, I don't want to deal with that. The other thing is you're constantly having to move the fabric underneath because you're going in a circle, so the fabric is kind of traveling below you. And I was also using 2 skeins of yarn so that I didn't have any pooling or anything. So as I was doing that, I had 2 things of yarn to manage as well, feeding into this, so I can keep a consistent pattern. So I don't know, I recommend it. If you have tried 9-inch circulars before and they're okay, or you love them, I recommend that you try that on your next sweater. And then if you haven't tried 9-inch circulars, I'd say try them because I think they're fantastic. And yes, and I knit the sleeve in half the time that it took me to knit the first one. And I have to say the gauge is a little different just because I'm using a different technique. But when I blocked it out. So I knit tighter with the DPNs because I was concerned about ladders. And I don't know, maybe because I'm trying to manage everything with those needles with the weight of the body of the sweater. I had a more relaxed gauge with the 9-inch circulars and the 16-inch circulars. So anyways, just a little tip for those of you that are just trying things out or not a fan of knitting sleeves with DPNs like I was. So socks. Oh no. So not knitting on this sweater, but I started a new sweater because I wanted to knit something in worsted or above to kind of give myself a break and to also knit something faster than knitting on a fingerling weight sweater or cardigan. So I'm a big fan of Jody and Tracy from the Grocery Girls podcast, and and I'm also a huge fan and have been for years. I think it was one of Craftsi's original, like 100 or whatever. I think that was part of their original Craftsy.com quilting knitting customers, and it's been a long time since I have tons of their stuff. I love it. So it's kind of how I learned how to do a lot of techniques, was through Craftsy.com. And I also do their cooking classes and all kinds of stuff. They have so much stuff. They have a show or a YouTube podcast called Off the Needles, and they're doing a summer knit along, a summer sweater knit along, and it's this Zadie sweater, and it's by Mercedes Knits. Well, it's by Mercedes. I have a couple of her patterns in my. Oh my allergies are bugging me. In my Ravelry library, but this is, yeah, Mercedes Tabaskovish. Sorry. But I actually have a Craftsy class by her, and I never watched it. I think I started watching it, and it's this really cute sweater that I would totally knit now. I think I was just overwhelmed at the time when I bought that class. I was like dreaming of knitting sweaters, but I hadn't mastered socks. Like shawl knitting was not even, like I knit scarves and hats at that time, so I think I was overwhelmed. But I could totally knit that sweater now. I should do that. But anyways, let me see if I can get a picture of this sweater without giving away the pattern. It is a paper pattern. You can only get it right now through Craftsy.com. And so it's got this really pretty cabling, raglan design on both sides. It's really cool. Now, this pattern comes with the yarn. There's and I think it's still active. If you go to Off the Needles YouTube podcast with Tracy and Jody, and you search for the summer sweater knit along, there is a coupon code in the show notes with a link directly to this pattern and yarn, and you get it 50% off. Okay, the yarn they're using is the Cloudborne Highland worsted. And I purchased the taupe colorway because I was looking for a neutral color. Just kind of like an everyday neutral color. Now, I've purchased this yarn before because it's really cool yarn to use when you're doing a worsted Fair Isle. And so, I had purchased this yarn before. For example, I got this color, which was nice because I could see, like, do I want a full sweater in this color? And I thought it was nice, but I decided not to go with this color. I also had purchased it in this color, which is really pretty, but I decided I didn't want a full sweater in this color. So I knew, I haven't knit with this yarn at that time, but I knew that the texture was nice, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go with a lighter one, and so I went with this taupe color. But this is nice yarn, y'all. Very nice yarn. And for the price, this sweater really, I think, less the pattern, is costing me $38. Okay? And I bought enough yarn for the large size, although I think I'm going to knit the medium size, or I have been. I'm modifying it just a bit. $38 for a sweater's worth of yarn is fantastic, and it's not acrylic. It's 100%. Let me, here's my little tag. Well, here. Look at this. It's 100% fine Highland wool, and it's really soft. It's a little toothy. And then what I mean toothy is it has grip to it, right? I never have to, you know what because obviously when you knit a sweater, I'm finding I don't need to alternate skeins. But when I have to combine, when I have to add another skein because I've run out of the other in the sweater, I don't have to, I'm not going to weave in any ends later. I literally just wet the two ends and friction those suckers together, and then it's not coming apart. So because it's that wool and there's no polyester, there's no synthetic. So I grafted those two ends together, and so I'm getting this one piece sweater, which is excellent. Does that make any sense? This color is really pretty though. Maybe I should have bought that. I did try to use the coupon again. I do have to tell you this. It doesn't work. Unless you create another Craftsy account or something, which I'm not going to do because that's a waste of my time. But I thought, oh my gosh, because I was just falling in love with how this was knitting up and how cheap it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need another whole sweater's worth of this yarn in a different color. Maybe I'll knit my mom a sweater. Like, I'm thinking, fantastic. But then I tried to use the coupon again, and it only works once with one account. But anyways, it's good yarn. So I'm loving it. So let me show you where we're at. It's knit, not top down, bottom up. It will be, again, another seamless sweater. I think. Is this pieces? Simple stockinette body with sleeves, broad of a suit canvas, garters, trims, bottom up. It doesn't say, but I believe it's not pieces. It might be. If it is, great. I've gotten quite a bit done. I am about to go and I'm about to be here and start to split for the sleeves and work the front and back panels, I believe. So I've kind of read ahead, but I need to read ahead again. So I've got this much done. I know this is a lot. I just started this. I guess it's been a week I've been knitting on this, but I haven't had a whole lot of time. This here will block out, but it's a little cute little garter rib at the bottom. And I mean, I'm just loving the fabric. It's going to be a really warm sweater. I like it. So I think I'm about armpit. Yeah. So I think I'm about like 3 rows from where I want to just drop some stitches. But good thing is about this yarn is because it's so wholesome, it's easy to pick up stitches. The yarn doesn't slip out of itself so easy. So I think this is going to be a really durable sweater too, which I think is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it. So if you're not familiar with this and you like to knit easy sweaters and you want something to knit quickly and you like your yarn to be affordable, I recommend you go to that. And If I remember, I'll even put a link to the YouTube video of that so that you can hear about the sweater knit along, and oh, I just love it. And I'll bring this with me to Canada when I get to meet Tracy and Jody, because we're both all three of us are attending the Ann Budd retreat with Ho He, which is why I'm going to bring this with me to Canada. And Susan B. Anderson. I would get down one of my little toys I made by her, but I'm not going to. Okay. What I thought was going to be a short podcast is taking a little longer. Next thing, I have not touched my Grand Central socks. This is a pattern by Mina Phillips of the Knitting Expat podcast. Hi, Mina. She's fantastic, and I think I own 3 of her sock collections, and this is the first pattern I've knit. I love the possibility that they're there and that I can just pick one at random and do it. But I was really attracted to this sock design, and then I bought this yarn at Stitches West. It's really cute and fun. It's got a little glimmer, and this is my first skein of Cat Sandwich Fibers. And the colorway is It Must Be Jelly. So these are my Grand Central It Must Be Jelly socks. And here's kind of how they're knitting up. This is the back. See how there's this really beautiful striping effect with this. It's a mint. It's an orange and mint color. I don't know. The front of it, and it's kind of difficult to see on this pattern, but I don't care. It's got all these 3-dimensional little bumpy things. I can't tell. This will be better done in a photo. So I haven't touched this in a while. I do plan on getting back to these. But when I want to work on something that has a little bit of patterning, but not a no-brainer, or that is a no-brainer, but with a little patterning, I'll pick these guys up again. But I did cast on another pair of socks, though, because this is a pattern sock. I needed something that's just vanilla sock. I have a rule. You always have a pair of vanilla socks on the needles in a bag, and you take it with you. The pattern socks don't always work for me when I have a few minutes, where a vanilla sock works fantastic, especially if I'm watching TV or it's dark in the room. So I needed to have that because I hadn't had any on. So again, these are another pair of, in another skein of yarn, but this is actually 2 skeins of yarn that I purchased at Stitches West this February. And it's a Koigu KPPM yarn, and the colorway is P71861. And this is it. Oh my gosh, isn't that adorable? I just fell in love with this yarn. So I got 2 of them. This is what it looks, sort of. It's kind of messy, but this is what it looks like. Balled up. So. Super cute. And then I'm doing a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff. And I'm using, this is from a mini skein club I was part of, the Space Cadet mini skein club, and the colorway is MS1604, and it's this adorable pink. Yep, going girly. I'm knitting these on my 1.5 millimeter 9-inch circs. Love them. I knit so fast on 9-inch circulars. And here's what I got so far. Got the cute cuff, and I'm going down the leg. I started out, this is a thicker yarn, and that's why I kind of like it. I really do like a sock yarn that is just below 400 yards in 100 grams. So, but these are smaller skeins. But nonetheless, if it was a 100-gram skein of yarn, if it's between 375 and 400, happy place. If it's 400 to 435, I'm fine with that. But if it gets any smaller or any more yards than that, it's too thin for me. So, anyways, I started out with 64 stitches, and I knit the cuff. I went about 1 inch, and now I'm starting to decrease every 10 rows by 2 stitches, because I noticed for me a 1.5 millimeter needle with a little thicker, consider it heavy fingering weight. These socks, they'll be too big. The last pair of socks that I finished were these really beautiful striped socks by Nomadic Yarns, and no, they weren't Nomadic, they were Scrumptious Pearl, I think it was. Yes, I can't remember. Sorry about that. But anyways, pretty much the same weight as this, and they're just too big for me. Like they fit, but they're loose on me. They're just, I kind of like feel like, when you're kind of swishing around in water, like when you have too big of a water ski boot on or whatever. I just feel like they probably could go to someone else. Now, granted, I have short feet. I'm at size 5.5, 6. So if I can find somebody that's got a little bit wider feet than me and that wears about a 6.5, I think they could fit these. But they're really comfortable. So I'm mumbling again. I love them. So I'm decreasing the leg to get down to 58. So from 64 to 58. And then that will allow it to tighten up a little bit. And then the rest of the sock I will knit with that stitch count. But then I'm going to knit this a longer leg so that it justifies the 64 inches or 64 stitches. I have really skinny ankles and I don't have huge calves, but it should work out. So I'm really liking these. They're cute. And I'm calling these my start of the summer socks 2017 because I started them at the beginning of the summer. And that is in a new bag. So this is one of my new favorite things. This is, I just want to make sure it's, yeah, Sugar Tots bag. Isn't that cute? It's got her little label. It's got this cute yellow inside, so it's very springy and summery, and that's where I have, and I just fold it over, and I'm just got my sock yarn inside. So it's got this cute suede handle. I enjoy it. I bought this and this and a skein of yarn, and I blew my yarn diet that I had started back in January on this just recently. So I think I did pretty good. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to things I love. It's just the end portion of the fiber shenanigans. But for Mother's Day, I believe, or my birthday, I can't remember exactly which one, my daughter and son-in-law purchased an Etsy gift card for me. Or future daughter-in-law, but I'm already calling her that. Redora and Eric, love them. Love you guys. Not that they watch this podcast, but so I got some yarns just to keep me on my yarn diet, but someone else gifted me the yarn gift card. So this is Cosmic Strings, and I used one of their skeins in that Joji wrap, and I think it was the Marrakesh colorway. So Cosmic Strings is from Edinburgh, Scotland, and this is the sock base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 4-ply, and the color Elixir. And it's coming out a little more blue. It is a little bit more green than you're seeing here, but that's because the sun is changing things up. See how bright that is? So it's really pretty. See, that's more true. So you see this really pretty like ocean aqua, like Greece, the Mediterranean watercolor, and these blues, and then this dark spots of blues. It's really pretty. It's very vivid. There's even some red speckling in there. So I just saw this and I thought this was really pretty, and I think that it would make some really pretty socks. Might even gift them. So very pretty. Then I saw this, and this is one of my soul colors. I have a few colors that when I see them, they are the color of my soul, and then this is the color of my soul in the springtime. And this is Cosmic Strings, and this is her single ply. So this is a single ply fingering, 100% superwash merino, 4-ply. It says 4-ply weight, but it's a single ply, and it's a plum dandy colorway, and that's the color. So it is mostly a solid, but I would say it's more tonal because you'll see there's some splats of darker mauvey. It's just a pinky mauve. It's really pretty. It's not quite purple, but it's really pretty. Then I saw this mohair. I don't know if they're going to go together, but they can. So again, Cosmic Strings on her, and this is her mohair lace. 75% kid mohair, 28% nylon, and the color is called Romance. And I saw these two, and I thought that they would make something really beautiful together. Now, whether I use them together or not, I just thought they were pretty. What I like about this mohair is that it seems to be that I can get lots of really pretty mohair in bright, fantastically bright colors, but this mohair is muted, and it comes from this family, but it's like it's muted, and there's some browns to it. Like it's just really pretty. So I might put them together, I might not. They can kind of go together, but that's not why I bought them. But I have some yarns where this would look great in, and this would be added great too. So that's what I got with my gift certificate from my kids. Then with the Sugar Tots bag that I just showed you, I bought this skeiny yarn because it just looks so much fun. And it's summer, and it comes with this cute little stitch marker of a sun and a cloud. But this is her single sparkle. So I've never, and someone else had mentioned they found a single ply fingering weight with sparkle. I have found one too. So this is a single sparkle, and what's nice about it is it's not obsessively sparkly. It is 95% superwash merino, 5% stellina, 399 yards, 100 grams, and the color is called Reef Dive. So it's like sherbet with a sunny blue sky. It's just really pretty, very colorful. Now, I've never knit single ply socks, and I actually don't plan on it because single ply socks just seem like they're going to pill up like nobody's business. So I feel like this would be a fantastic yarn to venture into the brioche world and pick a solid or a tonal, contrasting, and then have this baby just popping out. I mean, I'm going Stephen West with this sucker. It's not as neon, but I really do feel like this would be a fantastic brioche. And I just watched Kristen of the Wool and Vine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast. She did 2 brioche tutorials, and I'm like, this doesn't look, because I had been overwhelmed. Like, I thought brioche must be really hard because of what people had said, and then when maybe it's hard to fix some stitch, but I was watching her brioche and I was like, that seems kind of logical to me a little bit. So I don't know, I'm still probably going to take the Craftsy class that I purchased for it, but I think that's pretty. And then I also, and I don't have them yet because they just shipped, but they shouldn't take too long because they're coming from Southern California and I'm in Northern California, 2 sock yarns because I'm preparing for my trip. So this is a good time to segue to my sabbatical. The first part of my sabbatical will be celebrating my 15-year wedding anniversary with my husband, Chris. And we're going to go visit. First, we're going to go to Honolulu, and we're going to visit my family, my uncle and aunt, and their kids, who are all adults now. And they're my cousins. And we're going to we hadn't seen each other since they moved they moved to they're from the mainland. They moved to Hawaii. They've always wanted to live there, and we're Hawaiian. So they're basically going back to their roots. And so we're going to stay with them. We're going to visit them for about 3 nights, have some family time, some ohana time, and eat some Auntie Kim's food because she's a good cook, and be with the family. After that, we're going to go and take island hopper to Kauai, which is our favorite island, and just chill out for 10 nights. And so for knitting wise for that trip, just because it's going to be warm, I'm thinking my theme will be socks. I think I will be bringing socks with me mostly. I might bring a shawl too. Maybe I'll start a Brio shawl. But I probably won't bring any of my sweaters with me to Hawaii. Never say never, but just thinking ahead. So with that being said, I purchased a couple skeins of yarn from a new dyer, which I'll feature in my next podcast. I don't think she's brand new, but she's new to me, and her colors look fantastic for Hawaii. And one of them comes with it's a set. It comes with a contrasting heel and toe, and the color is Hawaiian gold. So I'm gonna get my Hawaii sock knitting on. I think it's kind of cool that if I knit them in Hawaii and they're Hawaiian themed, every summer when I wear them, it'll remind me of my one of my favorite places, which is Hawaii, especially Kauai. So I purchased some yarn for that. After I get back, or we get back from Hawaii, I have 3 days to switch my packing from tropical island to Europe. And I also have my hair appointment during that week, and just trying to get my things in place. What do I need to do while I'm still in the country? And I had already been gone for a couple weeks. So I'm going to be flying from SFO to Paris, and I'm going to be in Paris just for a day. I'm by myself, so I don't want to be just gallivanting in a big city like Paris by myself, especially being my first time there. So I'm going to be there for a day, and then I'm going to take a train to Chinon, where I'm going to be in Chinon. I'm staying at an Airbnb of a lovely couple, with a lovely couple who has like an upper second floor that's designated to where I can have my own room, my own bath, my own entrance, you name it. So I'll be in Chinon, which is in the Loire Valley. I'm really excited about it, just to kind of walk around, chill. French culture. They're known for their wine and cuisine, and there's a castle literally like 10 minutes from where I'm staying. So excited about that. And then I get back on a train, and I'm going to go to Limoux, which is in central France, and I have a quilting retreat that I am doing with, what's the name of the organization? Let me just pull it up in case any of you are wondering, what do you mean a quilting retreat? Craftsy Retreats is the name of the website. And so anyways, it's this renovated, beautiful farmhouse that's set up into the hills, and you just quilt. And they bring in a professional teacher that teaches stuff, so we'll have a theme. The food's provided. You have a place to, obviously you have your own bed, and there's bathrooms and wine and snacks, and a whole like downstairs area where all the machines are, and tables and cuttings, and you can just quilt all day long. You can go for walks there's a huge reservoir, I think, right nearby, and there's a couple just day trips where we go for lunch and visit a couple local villages. One of them which is known for its tapestries that have been around since the medieval times. So I'm so excited. That's going to be just really cool. And then after that, that's 7 days. And then after that, I have a day and a half or so to get myself to Tuscany. And I'm going to take the train. I'm going to take a beautiful train, and probably take an overnight train during that time, and enjoy the scenery and knit while I'm on the train. And then I'm going to land in Tuscany, where I'm going to be doing a knitting retreat. And I think I always say it wrong. Montisi or Montinisi? I can't remember right now. It's a village up on a hill, like all beautiful villages in Tuscany, and I'm there for 7 days again. I have my own room, an own private, like I'm on the first floor, which means it's gonna be a little cooler, which is nice because it can get warm in October in Tuscany. And I've got like a private entrance to the garden with a little kind of sitting area. All the rooms in this villa are stunning and really nice. So I'm excited. Cooking classes a couple nights, Italian cooking classes in the kitchen right there. A couple painting classes available in the garden. Knitting, foods provided, you name it. So that's going to be really nice. I'm looking forward to taking some beautiful walks. And the one thing I don't want to do is eat all this wonderful food and drink all this wonderful wine and sit on my butt all day long. So my goal is to have adventures and go for walks and be active as much as possible during this trip, especially during those retreats, because a retreat, you just think chill out and you have a home base. After that is finished, I take the train to Rome, and that night my husband's going to fly in. And he only has about a week off from work, so we're going to do a quick touristy kind of trip. We're going to go from Rome to Florence and stay there a few nights, explore, see the sights, art, food, culture, and then we're going to then take the train back to Rome and then spend 4 days in Rome and do the same thing. It's really not a lot of time to get everything done, but I've never been to Italy or France, and Chris has never been to Italy either. So it should be a great trip. It's a kind of a once in a lifetime trip for us. So we've been preparing financially for it for a while, and we're just looking forward to it. So then I got to think about what do I want to bring knitting wise, because I am going to be in Europe for almost a month, or at least 4 weeks before 3.5 weeks before my husband shows up, so where he can bring reinforcements like if I'm running out of stuff. But for me, I want to be as lightweight as possible because I'll be by myself. So knitting wise, I'm got to really think ahead, like how many projects am I bringing with me, and then also I have to consider what I need to bring with me for those retreats. The retreat I'm staying at, the retreat for Tuscany, is called Trips for Knitters, and the organizer for that, she's been fantastic. I think her name is Susan, and she's willing to bring the yarn that is provided, that she was going to ship out to everybody to bring with them. She's bringing it with her for me, because I'm not just coming from my location. I'm already there for a while. So anyways, I'm excited. Little overwhelmed, but I'm excited. People have asked me in the past, aren't you nervous about going by yourself? And yes and no. Like, I've been to the Middle East 3 times, and in heightened states of emergency. Now I wasn't alone, but I was with people who didn't know what they're doing. So if I can handle that, I think I can handle going to Europe by myself. So I think I'll be fine. God has my back. So I'm really looking forward to it. So, hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you had any questions, if you want to have any snide remarks, if you want to want more information next time I do my podcast, if you have suggestions, let me know. I love to hear back from you. You can either leave comments below in the YouTube page, or you can jump over to Ravelry, send me a private message, or even just a message in the post for this podcast. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in August. I will podcast in August, because if I don't, then I won't podcast for a while. All right. Take care, people. Love ya. Bye.